Well, how do you like this look? Well, today the climate change thing came out from the UN, and it was kind of interesting to see people's reaction. People don't care. So it's interesting to see people react that don't care, that are trying to care. And some people care more than others. It's kind of a sliding scale of who cares a tiny bit and who cares not at all. Just thought I'd comment, because I'm in the United States, and we just went through Monday, August 9th, 2021, and I was houseless for about 8 or 9 years, and that's when I became a real serious environmentalist. I'd always liked the environment and animals and, things like that, but being outside nonstop with the pollution, it made me realize a lot of things. And it's horrible. It's really, really very, very bad. It harms human health. That's why I got out of the habit of calling it global warming or climate change or whatever. I go, bears care about the climate. I care about your filth. Are you gonna buy a shower for that homeless guy you just polluted on while you drove your car to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee? Jesus Christ. I don't know if this is going to change anybody's behavior or not. Probably not. People do not care. People want their government to save them. I ended up mocking the Green New Deal folks towards the end of my tenure because it was easy to do, and they're just as much to blame as everybody else. Started saying, "Oh, I need a deal. Give me a deal to do the right thing. I can't stop polluting unless you give me a deal." I said that dozens of times around clowns outside to make my point that they were irresponsible and that they are responsible and that they should change their tune. See, it's easy to blame whoever's in front of your face, but I actually blame government, number one, because they could prevent these polluted activities. Number two, I blame businesses because businesses could prevent it so that they're not selling this stuff that pollutes. I blame consumers, number three. Consumers could say, I ain't buying it. And I blame the church, number four. The church could say, this is a sin, don't do it. And none of those groups want to save us. None of those people in those groups want to quit their polluting. They all want somebody else to make them quit. So is God going to make them quit? By burning down their house? Maybe. I would continue to be outside right this very minute if it weren't for the pollution and for being attacked. And I think I was attacked in a way that I was attacked in a real crazy way where the person got away, and the harm from the attack didn't show up until later, I think. And it happened early on, and it happened more than once, I think. Actually, in my sleep, believe it or not. And I'm about to write about it too here. I've got 5 more stories to write in my book series, in the book I'm writing, and one of them is going to be about that. So there's not only that, but the pollution factor too. It was degrading my health, and so I was being crucified, fucking crucified, by being out there and breathing in everybody's goddamn pollution day in and day out to try to save the goddamn place. And do you think that's fair? Nobody cared. Nobody changed. Nobody said a word about how they need to make some changes and how they're sorry. I heard a few thank yous or whatever. I never asked anybody for a penny, and never got anything from anybody. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction. I never held up a sign for money. I never asked one person for money. So people should rethink things. Nobody's going to save you. if there is a God, and if God judges everybody, God's not going to judge. God's not going to show you grace because your government made it hard on you to lead a sustainable life. God, you don't got to deal with God. You know, these Christians think they have a deal with God. They're so deal oriented. They have a deal with God where they're going to go to heaven when they die because they merely believe that Jesus lived and died for their sins and rose from the grave. So in their mind, I was born and raised in this Southern Baptist, and I know it very well. So in their mind, they don't have to do a damn thing. And in fact, the book of Revelation says that the earth will pass away. There'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and people will get a new body. So nobody's very interested in bucking that. In fact, there's people that self-fulfilling prophets are just throwing their arms up and saying, well, it's inevitable kind of thing. It's going to happen. So we have all kinds of people making it happen and actually justifying their behavior to make it happen. It's really sad and pathetic. Because I know as a people we could all rise up and quit. It would take some work. It probably really wouldn't take all that long if the consumers or the church, for instance, stood up and said, forget it, we're not doing this anymore. You know, our parking lot from now on is for handicapped people only. If you want to burn gas on the way to church, stay home. Consumers said, you know, we have higher standards than this. I ended up asking myself, would you burn anything? Would you burn these? I said these people would probably burn dead bodies if they had the chance. They'd burn dead bodies for fuel. They burn dung for fuel. I'd say stuff like, are the options ever too shitty? You know? People just don't have a heart or a soul. They don't care about other people. They really don't even care about themselves, you know? I'm an organic vegetarian. That's all I eat is organic vegetarian food. If it's not organic and vegetarian, I don't eat it. I wouldn't give it away. I wouldn't put it in landfills. I wouldn't give it to animals. So, and when I was houseless, I brought it around with me everywhere because it was hard to find. And I gave it away to people. And I still do. But people have extremely low standards, and they'll just eat whatever. They don't care if it harms their body or harms others. They'll smoke cigarettes. They'll burn gasoline, burn coal. They'll rub weird chemicals on their body. I don't use synthetic chemicals either. I use organic soap. I used organic white vinegar to wash my laundry for years. And now I use the Bronner's organic soap. It's just, there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way. There's perfection, there's the best way, then there's the worst way. You know, people think that they can reap a benefit from doing things poorly. People think that they're being blessed and can receive a blessing by harming other people and harming themselves. And ultimately, if you don't love your own self, you're not going to love anybody. So I just exhort you to take responsibility for everything you say and do. You know, in the Bible it says the Christians are supposed to hold every word captive. If you held every word captive, every thought captive, actually it's every thought. Hold every thought captive. If you hold every thought captive, you'll probably hold every word captive. And I don't see it. I see a lot of people just skating. So they're showing all these horrible fires on TV and ice melting. You know, there's never been fires like this in California before. If what I read was correct, last year was one of the worst fire seasons on record, if not the worst, in California. And California has already had, I've seen so many stats. I think the stat that I saw said that there's 3 times more acres burned this year, countrywide, than last year, over the whole year, not just California. So yeah, the stat I saw, and I think it was on CNN, almost 24 hours ago. It said it was 250 some odd thousand last year. This year is 750,000 roughly, and that's insane. This is only August, and so they're saying the fire season might be year round now, or might be a lot longer. And there's a lot of fires right now burning out of control. For days, it said the Dixie Fire in California is 21% contained, and so I don't even know if I can trust that. You know, what are the chances of that, honestly? What are the chances of, for 72 hours, the same fire being the exact same amount contained? I think that's impossible, actually. So I don't think they're telling us the truth about those numbers. It could be worse. It could be a lot worse than that. I read that they had a let it burn philosophy that they are changing because of the fires. Some of them, sometimes they would just let it burn out. And they're saying that's actually contributing to more problems. And there's respiratory problems and other issues. I can only imagine living in an area like that or living outside. And for all I know, if somebody's trying to harm us, if somebody's setting these fires, you know, they had a suicide drone on. They say that a suicide drone crashed into a boat and caused an explosion. 2 people died, and there's a big hole on the boat. So for all we know, these are drone crashes. Maybe they're accidental, maybe they're deliberate. Who knows? But what I do know is that we don't have appropriate surveillance to determine the cause of these fires, because we always figure out that a fire occurred after it occurs. It's always like forensic science. So it's really sad. Fires make me sad because it's just such a total loss. And then in the rainy season, it becomes mudslides, and there's mud everywhere, and it's another total loss. It's funny, I've had people come in and out of this live broadcast as I've been broadcasting. People don't want to hear this stuff, you know. People want, you know, massages. People want to hear how great they are. They don't want to hear that they're doing everything wrong and need to change everything. And that's what I did. And that's what I'm saying. You know. And I'll say it again. I'd be outside right this very minute with my stuff in a storage unit if people didn't pollute on me everywhere I went. And I may go out and do that again in the least polluted place that I can find in the country, or the world even. It was beautiful outside. It was cleaner. It was nice. But, you know, people burn gasoline on other people. I've told so many houseless people, this is a polluted spot. And I say that out of love to them, and sometimes that's all I can say. Because when there's a houseless person that's sitting there on the street, and the auto emissions are just blowing in their face, you know, I go, this is a polluted spot. And, because it is, and I want them to be healthy, and nobody cares. I say that too. I go, take care of yourself. Nobody gives a shit. Sometimes I use even stronger language. You know, in the United States, the people, I don't think people can, like churches, can let houseless people sleep inside of them because of the zoning laws. And I think that's a problem. I think if churches want a 501c3 non-profit status for helping everybody, and they want tax-deductible donations, then they should be allowed to open their doors and let houseless people sleep inside of the church. But that's not how it is now. Right now they're zoned not residential, so they can't let people sleep in there legally. So places I've seen houseless people, I remember Honolulu, for instance, there are houseless people just lined up against the wall of a church, sleeping outside in an alleyway. I mean, is that what you want? Is that what you want the United States to look like? These alleged houses of God that's supposed to be helping people, and they're getting a tax deductible donations, and then they make these people with no house sleep outside. And then when I was in Long Beach in 2012, 2013, and 2014, I met some houseless people, and they invited me to go some church meal thing with them. So I did that, and I saw how they did it. And these people, these churches want houseless people to come in there and hear a sermon, and then they give them a tray of weird food with a plastic bottle of water, and they give them a meal and let them go. So it's not fully altruistic. They're not just looking out for these people. It's not good food. And I only did it one time to see what the heck they did and what my friends were going through. It's pathetic. When I gave food to the houseless, I went right down to downtown San Diego, sat down on the ground by them and gave it to them and prayed with them and helped them. But that's not how Americans do things. They want to give money to their church, and then they want their church to evangelize people and then give them some crumbs. Everything is just so backwards, and they're nowhere near being fixed. Now, Biden has talked a good talk lately about going to electric vehicles. He's not satisfying a lot of people because it's a slow road that he's taking, and it's a partial fix. He's not fixing the power grid or getting off of coal. He's not fixing all the vehicles. As far as I know, he said half of the vehicles by the end of the decade should be electric. So it's something, and something is better than nothing. But younger people don't get it as much as older people, and people in houses don't get it as much as houseless people. But polluting on people harms their health, and it makes it harder to heal. It makes it slower. Every wound heals better when you don't have pollution that's constantly blown into it. So what are your options, Jesus was houseless. I didn't hear him complain about it. I didn't hear him begging for a house. It's supposed to be an option. It's supposed to be a way you can get away and think and live. We're not supposed to be locked into a capitalist system where you've got to make some idiot rich and do a stupid job that you hate to just make ends meet and live month to month. That's not the American dream. And I ain't doing that. So good luck with your nonsense. I've got a couple, 200-300 friends on Facebook that I've actually known throughout my life, and some of them might see this. And I thought growing up that these were amazing people. I thought when I attended Christian schools with them that they were the salt of the earth, but I don't call them that anymore. I tell homeless people they're the salt of the earth. If God judges everybody on their carbon footprint like I do, then these houseless people are going to have a real amazing place in heaven, and you're not.